What is the best value for money Android phone in 2020? That's a question I've been thinking about a lot, and somehow I landed on the Sony Xperia 5 II. Did I make a huge mistake? Let's go unbox this and talk about some first impressions and the reason I ended up with this one.
Goedendag, we're DHRME. Dumu helps Rohan make eggs.
So admittedly, the reason for me landing on a Sony as opposed to all the other Android phones out there is very specific to me. But stay tuned, maybe many of these apply to you as well. So the Google Pixel 5 for one, I can't officially buy it in the Netherlands.
You can kind of get your hands on it by either driving across the border to Germany and buying it in store, or ordering it online and getting it mail forwarded from Germany. But either options means that you won't be getting that warranty and after-sales service that Google is so famous for.
The other interesting phone in this price range that I was considering was the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE, and that ticked a lot of boxes in my book, except one, which is that they don't come with the Snapdragon processor here in Europe. And on the website, they very shadily mention it as an octa-core processor. They even shy away from actually naming Exynos. So that was a deal breaker for me. The USB PD 18-watt fast charger in the box. And some wired in-ears because you have a headphone jack. And a USB to USB charging cable. All right, let's peel this sucker off. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the OnePlus phones, great phones, but for me, a camera is kind of important right now, and the OnePlus range of phones aren't really known for their cameras.
So we had a chat about this around the same time that MKBHD released a video about why Sony isn't selling more phones. And I've got to say, it really drew Rohan in. I'm not so convinced, so I'm really curious as to why he decided to buy it. Or as they say in Dutch, I am benieuwd.
Please don't be, I'll give you my reasoning anyway. So the fact that this is positioned as a video and photography enthusiast phone really piqued my interest. The fact that it has plain vanilla Android, or at least close to it, a flagship processor and a nice understated design is something I really appreciate. And for me, a good camera on a phone at this stage is really important.
But dude, who really needs a great camera on their phone? You have the Panasonic mirrorless camera anyway.
Hey, Panasonic, autofocus. Alright, spoken like a guy who doesn't have a toddler running around his house. Have you ever tried the Panasonic autofocus on a toddler? And you know, despite being YouTube tech reviewers, Kevin and I haven't really tried a high refresh rate phone yet, so that's something I'm looking forward to as well. And you know, our channel is a lot about audio, a lot of headphones and earphones in particular. I think Sony really knows what it's talking about when it comes to audio. So pairing these with something like the Sony WH-1000 XM4 should really give you the best out of LDAC. And if you want to see a full review of those headphones, check out the link up there on the description down below. So the price I paid for this with the carrier deal was about 670 euros. And that's, I think, a bit higher than what the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE is retailing for in the Netherlands. And if the Pixel 5 were to be released at this point, I think it would be about the same.
Curious what the price is in your region? Check the links in the description below. Choose to use them. It'll help the channel out a little bit. No extra cost to you.
And finally, in the Netherlands, these come as a package deal with headphones, which I still have to fill in the form and order. These are lower end noise cancelling headphones.
All right, talk about your first impressions.
First impression time, at least on the hardware. Wow, I love it. This is so thin. Look at how my hand can literally wrap around that. As opposed to my iPhone XR, I can kind of wrap around, but this is like a bit comfortable to hold. This is how you hold phones most of the times. So it makes sense to actually have a thinner phone for me. Also with the ultra wide content that we have these days, I like this form factor. Oh, the small form factor really also makes it easy to type on. I'm a really bad typist. I make a lot of typos. Okay, I've been setting up the fingerprint. Seems to work really well. It has a Google Assistant button. Not too impressed about that. Don't need so many buttons. I'm really curious to see the cameras, how they are. Woohoo, it's set up. All right, let's start with the front camera. The camera in the front is an 8 megapixel shooter, and I was a bit disappointed with the spec, but as you see here, the results are pretty decent if you give it good light. It can do decent selfies. My skin tone is reasonably exposed, and even with this backlit situation, although the highlights are blown out in the background, it does well to recover some of those details in my skin. And this is with the same bright window on the right hand side of my face. So you can say that even though there's a difference in lighting, nothing's really blown out or crushed. Video from the front camera with the backlit situation. This is the video with a bit of a side lit kind of scene. Side lit again. And this is when it's lit up from the front. Now looking at this bottle, you see a big difference between the iPhone and the Sony here, especially in the brightness and the color temperature. And you see the same here. However, I think in this photo the Sony does better. The sky is much bluer than in the iPhone, which again tends to warm. And this one is a bit neck and neck. Again, there's a big window with light streaming in, and this is kind of shooting against the light. So both the cameras do a decent job. Whereas when we go outdoors, we see that the iPhone isn't doing so well with the sky. Admittedly, it's not the latest iPhone, but still it's something to keep in mind. And this is a video stabilization test I did, and I'm walking here, and here I begin running. You see that the Sony is a bit better stabilized for sure. Slow motion test, because yeah, Sony's famous for slow motion. It's a 120 FPS over here at the Sony. I don't think you should worry too much about the exposure here, but slow motion they both do equally well. The iPhone looks brighter and clearer here. The Sony not as much, but it still is a very good photo. And in this case, the sky on the iPhone looks a bit dull. The whole photo for me looks a bit dull, whereas on the Sony with the middle lens, the photo looks nice and well exposed. And with the wide lens, the exposure is very similar with decent lighting. With the telephoto lens, also you get a decent photo, but I don't prefer it as much. This is a nighttime shot, and you can see that the Sony isn't performing super well here. And this is the only lamp I had on in the room, and interestingly the color temperature of this lamp is white, although it shows out pretty yellow in these photos, but the piano does look pretty good. And there's another side of the same piano. You see the shadows are losing some detail, and there is a little bit of noise in the walls. This is an interesting setup because I had the lamp on in the hallway, and I also had a lamp on outside the door. So this is how it looks with both those lamps on. And then I turned off the lamp in the hallway, and here you see that it's still pretty decent. You do get a decent amount of detail, and this is with both the lamps off, only the street lights, and it was much darker than this to my eye. So yeah, Sony does do night shots, I suppose. And this is with the little penguin right underneath the lamp, so the front of the penguin actually doesn't have direct light from the lamp, but I think the Sony did a pretty good job here. And in this case as well, this is kind of the back, so you see that the front was really dark, but still we could see the face of the penguin, and the back looks pretty well exposed in this case. This is a low light video test with the back camera. I'm going for the main shooter, not the ultra wide or the telephoto, just to keep things simple, and that is usually the best lens. So if this lens can't do it, I'm guessing no other lens can. And we got to be fair, so this is me lit from front on. It's also a very kind of a dim light. It's not super bright. There are no other lights except this little lamp in front of me. So we are really putting this thing through its paces. So first impressions, really nice in the hand. The cameras look promising. Of course, it's too short to say anything conclusive. I like the fingerprint sensor. I like the fact that you can just pull the SIM tray out without having a tool. I mean, this is amazing. More companies should do this. Apple, I'm looking at you. Yeah, and overall, so far so good. That's it for the impressions, guys. If you want to see a full review, leave a comment down below and we'll see what we can do. Do follow us on Twitter and Instagram to see some photo and video samples and comparisons. If you have any questions, let us know and we'll try to answer them in the review. You've been getting an impression of our impressions.
And we've been DHRME. Namaste.